Greetings everyone, I'm History Dude and thank you for joining me on our journey through time. Today I'll be sharing with you 5 inventions from the American Civil War that are still in use today. But before I do, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on that notification option so you don't miss any more upcoming historical content. Alright, let's get to it. Number 1. The Army Ambulance Corps. Jonathan Letterman, medical director of the Army of the Potomac, was responsible for creating the first organized transport for the wounded. Ambulance units usually consisted of a ragtag group of soldiers who were otherwise unfit for fighting. Letterman innovated and regimented the process. The ambulances of a division moved together under the direction of a line sergeant with 2 stretcher bearers and 1 driver per ambulance. They would go into the field, pick up the wounded, deliver them to dressing stations, and then to field hospitals. To this day, the military bases its ambulance system on Letterman's ideas. Number 2. The Gatling gun. In 1862, Richard Jordan Gatling invented a multi-barreled rotating gun operated by a hand crank that would fire up to 200 rounds per minute. Used only a few times during the Civil War, the Gatling gun would later become the first widely successful machine gun. The ancestor of the modern machine gun was the most successful of several rapid-fire guns that were born before. He invented the gun in hopes that a weapon so catastrophic in its damage would convince men to stop waging war. Unfortunately, its efficiency in killing only made war more deadly. His idea lives on though, and his design is still in use on many different types of military vehicles and aircraft. Number 3. Ironclad warships. At the start of the Civil War, the North had a distinct naval advantage as the South didn't have a dedicated navy, but both recognized the importance of armor-cladding their ships. The first engagement between 2 ironclad ships was between the USS Monitor and the CSS Virginia on March 9, 1862. They fought hard on the Chesapeake Bay for about 4 hours until the commanding officer, Lieutenant John L. Warden of the USS Monitor, was wounded when a shell hit the pilot house. They pulled back in so that he could be relieved and the ship could return to battle. But the tides were lowering and the deep-hulled CSS Virginia had to retreat before she ran aground. Even though it ended in a stalemate, both sides claimed victory. The battle would prove that wooden ships were now obsolete and began the beginning of metal ship designs that are still in use today. Number 4. Submarines. Though it was the Union that had superior industrial capabilities, it was the Confederacy that launched the only submarine of the war. Commanded by Lieutenant George E. Dixon, the submarine CSS H.L. Hunley was built to break the Union blockade of southern ports. It would be the first such ship to successfully attack and sink an enemy ship. The Hunley was armed with just a single spar torpedo, which was an explosive charge attached to the end of a wooden pole that was used to successfully sink the USS Housatonic on February 17, 1864. With a length of just 40 feet and a crew of 8 using a hand-cranked shaft to propel her through the water, it was quite the innovation for its time. Unfortunately, the Hunley was lost with all hands shortly after her attack, but she opened the way for the future of underwater warfare. And number 5. Naval mines. Not only did the Confederates develop the submarine, but they also saw the need for naval mines in hope of countering the Union's blockades of southern ports. Live shells were mounted to timbers attached to large wooden frames or cribs that were anchored in rows to the bottom of a waterway, often with heavy stones. The weight system allowed the mines to be raised or lowered by modifying the amount of weight attached. The Confederates placed these frame mine arrangements in harbors and across rivers and bays just beneath the surface of the water. When a ship passed over them, the contact pressure crushed the mine's copper cap and ignited its fuse. The success of these mines led to the creation of landmines and grenades that would be used in later wars. I hope you found this video entertaining. If you have, hit those like and subscribe buttons down below and leave me a comment. I'm your local historian, and that's History Dude.